Have you ever had a weird rendezvous with someone for an arranged marriage? You both sit down, worrisome and anxiously gazing at each other, wondering how to jump into the conversation, when suddenly one of the two dons a virtual hat to initiate an interview for a job of sorts, as if marriage is one. Maybe on some levels it is. A volley of questions visit you, like why do you see yourself fit for the wedding, or the qualities essential for the groom or the bride thereof. At the risk of imminent dehydration that follows, you might want to clinch the suggestion of looking for an escape through a narrow alley. Worry is writ large on your face. Abiding the typical episode, I watched Meenakshi Sundareshwar on Netflix. Just like the groom, our hero, who finds himself in a testy situation in the movie where he is answering questions in a setup conveying the lure of a job interview, we find ourselves struggling to keep avoiding the trappings of a languidly paced movie. It's a movie about the machinations of arranged marriages, the pitfalls, the shortcomings, and all the wonderfully placed pieces peppered across the Holy Communion. Starring Sanya Malhotra and Abhimanyu Dassani, the movie is a little cutesy tale about the mild tremors subjugated on the couple in an arranged marriage. Although the title is a mouthful, the plot is supposedly thinner than the curry served in a South Indian household. Set against the arresting vista of Madurai and Bangalore, the casting of a wandering look on beautiful aesthetics in each frame would be quickly replaced by, oh, so it's a Karan Johar movie. The simplicity of Madurai city's naivety and dubiously slow-paced lifestyle contrasts with the fast-paced high-rises of the corporate jungle of Bangalore. The story doesn't take more than 2 measly pounds to chalk up the specificity of the characters of both cities. On the same lines, we see an encouraging depiction of a vastly differing milieu of Abhimanyu's character when he hops from one fence to another. He leads two distinctive lives intertwined into each other, united by the frailty of his relationship with Sanya, also known as Meenakshi. The story would not have seen the light of day if Meenakshi and Sundar had not met accidentally. The groom on bride hunt lands on the doorsteps of another house, unaware that the conclusion of their hunt awaits another gathering just a couple of blocks away. Case of mistaken identity finds its ship sailing past an awkward first encounter that leads to marriage in a flash. Just like a million Indian couples, they both ride into marriage without expecting anything and sounding relieved with the turn of events. The plot henceforth adheres to the common principles of typical Bollywood storytelling, minus the cacophony of over-dramatization. The movie predicates its softer elements on the shaky, genteel overtones, be it the refined, intimate meetings between the lead, their interaction with the surroundings, or their efforts to ignite the flame in the relationship in a long distance. Even the emotions exuded by the supporting cast prevent it from becoming a crude narrative. The only problem with the movie is its inability to wiggle past the first impression it carves, whereby it agonizingly propels the replica of that tone throughout the narration. The evolution of intimacy between the two is sparingly different from when the two spar due to lack of communication over a long-distance relationship. For someone whose upbringing is curved out to imbibe expectations only for an arranged marriage, the sudden brazen gesture to commit to role-playing would be assuming a step well imagined. And the unexpected reaction from the in-laws is watching the characters play with the boundaries of moral ethics of traditional families. This too, vastly imagined. Thankfully, the character played by Sanya Malhotra is not the expected assembly of over-the-top bubbliness and unnecessary sweetness that usually accompanies the portrayal with a similar theme. She's on point in her initial display of enigma when her character opens up, but as we discover, the evolution of a character lacks panache as it transitions through different chapters. We imagine her to be intuitive, and she presents unmistaken understanding towards her husband each time he finds himself in the throes of sticky situations. Although we see another layer congregate in place when her shaken self discovers the absence of her husband, who moves into another city to build her career. Aside from this, Sanya's disposition mostly sticks to the writing. Abhimanyu Sundar looks decent on screen. Meenakshi calls him Sundar as his physical constitution abides by his name when she mentions him to one of her friends. Although it would appear as he is narrating the story, he would relish most of the screen space, but on numerous occasions we see him play second fiddle to Meenakshi. The trajectory of his character cuts into a short parabola that curves right next to the point where it shoots out. Books and movies lull him to sleep, making it the only discernible bit attracting attention in his portrayal. His life in Madurai is no different than his life in Bangalore. The presence of his father's toxic influence in Madurai wisely matches the sore interpretation of his new boss in Bangalore. It seems he subconsciously carries the bias for the dominant hand, guiding his life's decisions without appearing to question the authority. The movie on the whole strives to make a point on arranged marriages while also utilizing enough space to dwell upon the factors associated with long distance relationships. The narrative could have focused on the relationship bits between the two with more passion rather than just giving it a passing glance. Thanks to the reasonable handling of the subject, the movie does a fair job of certainly declining the adoption of typical Bollywood elements. I would rate the movie 2.5 on 5. Thank you.